Hello everybody, I'm Morgan.
And I'm Jasmine.
And today we're going to be doing our podcast on the Democratic debate. Just a little disclaimer, we're both going to be a little biased towards a candidate because we are both strong Bernie supporters. So we just wanted to get that out there, but without further ado, here we go. So the first thing we're going to be talking about is ageism. Tell me your thoughts on ageism.
I think specifically in this run, everyone's putting Bernie under fire because they're saying that he's just old and he doesn't have the right, means to be in the run or even to be president. And I think that doesn't make it, it doesn't make any sense to me personally because I feel like the policies and the qualifications should be the thing that people are judging these candidates on, not so much their age. And then on the other side of the spectrum, Buttigieg, who is the youngest person running in this race, they're saying that he's not mature enough and that he could never make it as president and he could never, suffice as president, which again makes no sense to me because policies and qualifications are the number one thing and should be the number one thing for everyone when looking at these candidates.
Definitely, I agree with you 100%. I definitely would say that ageism is a big problem in today's world. I feel like if a candidate is fighting for what you believe in, that's all that should matter. Age shouldn't take a part in any of that. Going back to Buttigieg being the youngest in the race, we've had great presidents. Definitely JFK was one of the best.
Mm-hmm.
And wasn't he the youngest?
Yeah, I think he was the youngest.
But definitely age shouldn't matter. Bernie supporters are diehard Bernie supporters.
Yeah.
So age doesn't matter to them.
Yeah.
But if a candidate's fighting for what you believe in, I think that's the most important, and that's all that should matter, really.
Yeah, most definitely. So we're going to kind of transition into democratic socialism, and the one thing we're talking about is with the Democratic debate that just was out and that we're basing this podcast off of. Jorge Ramos, which was one of the moderators, brought up Venezuela and talks about socialism in the countries where it didn't work, but for some reason doesn't bring up the countries where it does work.
Yes.
Exactly, and where they thrive.
Exactly.
On it. Like Australia, Finland, Norway, Canada,
Italy,
France,
exactly.
All those places, and they're thriving off of it, and yet all he can talk about are the countries that aren't thriving off of it.
Exactly. I think that's not. It wasn't just at the debate. I've noticed it with a lot of news anchors.
Yeah, most definitely.
Because the establishment is terrified of Bernie.
Yeah.
Because he's tired of the greed and
exactly.
everything that's going on in Washington. But it's definitely something that I noticed being a Bernie supporter. That usually they'll only mention the countries where it doesn't work, but they never mention the countries where it does work.
Yeah.
And the countries where it does work, no system is perfect.
Yeah.
But being the richest country in the history of the world,
we
can adapt to those policies.
Exactly.
Definitely. Do you have any more thoughts on?
I think that being our biggest example, I think like you said, we are the richest country. I feel like if not saying these countries are poor countries, but us, as if it's a list or something. If these countries are making it, yeah, exactly. If these countries are making it work, then why can't we?
Exactly.
And it's because I feel like everyone in the White House is just so scared of socialism because they know that socialism goes against everything that they know and that they believe. Mm-hmm. So they're so scared that us younger generation is going to be introduce socialism, and then they're just going to be poof, gone.
Exactly. Same with the older generation. I feel like the older generation is sorry to the older generation, but I feel like the older generation is a little more brainwashed into thinking that socialism is a bad thing, when in fact it's actually not. And the thing that I noticed too with these media outlets is that they mention socialism, but they don't mention democratic socialism. And socialism and democratic socialism are two completely different things. And I feel like that's a big problem with the media today.
And I think with the whole older generation, again, sorry to the older generation, but I think the change that our generation has been through from, segregation and all that stuff, they were all so far into it that they didn't really experience that change like we did.
Exactly.
We were fighting for that change, and they were just a part of what was before that change. And I think that's why they're so stuck in their ways of like not wanting anything to change, that when something did change, they were like, nope, like I'm staying in my own little bubble of like, you know, whatever I believe in, and I'm not going to let anything penetrate it or anything come through. And I think that's why they're so against socialism and democratic socialism. Again, they're two different things. So I think that's definitely why.
Yeah, I feel like the older generation, they refer to the younger generation. It's Gen X or
Gen X or
Gen Z. It's
Gen
one of
Z.
those.
Or like
I get
millennials.
Yeah, I get it mixed up all the time.
They use like millennials and like Gen Z and stuff like as an insult, and it like I guess it's like the same as like when people call like them like boomers or whatever.
Yeah.
So I guess it's like the same thing, but I feel like it shouldn't really be an insult either way, because I mean that's just the generation you grew up in. Like, you know, there are definitely people in the older generation who ruin it for other people, definitely,
Yes.
by far. But you know, that's
The younger generation is, I would say, from experience and being around the younger generation, I would definitely say that we are more progressive,
yes.
and the older generation isn't really like that. I mean, you can't really thrive now as like you could when our parents were kids, or
Yeah.
even our grandparents.
Yeah.
Even when they became adults. I personally think the American dream died out in the 50s to an extent, because now people are usually having 3 jobs, 3, 2, 1, whatever it is,
Yeah, exactly.
and you can barely get by on that, and it's crazy.
Yeah.
And then, like in the 50s and 60s, you could pay a mortgage with a minimum wage job.
Yeah.
Like now, that's not even possible. That's absurd.
Exactly.
And people and kids are flooding with debt, and it's an issue that I feel like needs to be addressed.
Yeah.
But it's a great talking
Yeah.
point. So the next thing we're going to be talking about, unless you wanted to add more, you good? Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Next thing we're going to be talking about is the candidates.
Yeah.
We have a few that.
Yeah.
Um,
for us at least, it's Bernie Sanders and Elizabeth Warren. We went over this. Those are like our two.
Yes.
But obviously hardcore Bernie because we love him. But there are some other candidates that we felt we should talk about because they did have some type of voice in the debate that we feel like we should discuss. The first one being Kamala Harris, a big thing for us.
Biggest hypocrite.
Yeah. So she changed her policies a lot. One of the moderators actually, when asking her a question, kind of put her under fire. Quote, one of the moderators said, "You used to oppose legalization of marijuana, but now you don't. You used to oppose
outside investigations and police shootings.
And now you don't." And then the moderator said, like, okay, you said that you changed these and others because you were swimming against the current, and thankfully now the current has changed. And the moderator said, but when you had the power, why didn't you try to affect change then? You know, instead of now when that stuff doesn't, you know, like, it doesn't make any sense. So she's really like back and forth on the policies.
She's flip-flopped a lot in her career, definitely.
And her whole thing is like the entire Democratic debate. She was just trying to
insult
yell
Trump,
and fight at Trump, and it's like, this isn't Twitter. Like, this is a debate where you're fighting for your votes, and all you can do is talk about Trump.
Exactly.
Like, I get it. We need to get Trump out of office. I get that more than anyone else.
Exactly.
But you fighting with him is not gonna.
She needs to sell her policies and say what she's fighting
I'm not
for
gonna
the
vote on
people.
you just because you don't like Trump. A lot of people don't like Trump.
Exactly.
Like you could run on for president, and you can be like, oh, I hate Trump, but if you have no policies, I'm gonna be like, okay.
Exactly.
Okay, then what are you gonna do about it? You know, like she's not doing anything about it. She's just wanting to fight and be like a badass. That's what she's trying to do.
Exactly.
And it's like I can talk about how I hate Trump all the time. Am I gonna get voted as president? Probably not.
Same
like,
here. Same
like
here.
you know, like it doesn't make any sense. Like she's just trying to pick a fight.
Yeah, I feel like her and Joe don't answer questions.
They don't. They're just
when they're asked
fight.
questions,
Yeah.
they move around it. And I don't know if you noticed it. I noticed it a lot. She she was laughing when one of the moderators asked her a question. I forgot what the question was. But
yeah, she laughed when the moderator was talking to her about that, and she started laughing.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and I was like, because I think they laugh when they know for Bernie, like he laughs when he knows the person is wrong, but every other candidate kind of laughs like when they know that they're like, oh crap, like I really
nervous.
know. Yeah, when they're nervous, exactly. And it's like not just Bernie, he laughs. Like I know like Joe Biden laughs and stuff. Like they all kind of like laugh because they're like being awkward and they're being asked like these random questions. And so, but I feel like she laughs because she's like, oh, like damn, like this. The moderator really got at her when she said that. Yeah, and she started laughing, and then she picked a fight with Trump, and I was like,
yeah,
what are you even talking about? Like,
I feel like the moderators too. They attack Bernie with these questions that are harder to answer, but every other candidate on stage gets an easier question, and they have him talking about. They'll ask him a question about healthcare. How are you gonna do this? How are you gonna do that? How are you gonna pay for it? Yeah. And he literally has 45 seconds to talk about it.
Talk about 5 different points.
Exactly.
And then when he doesn't talk about one of those points, they use that against him.
Exactly.
Oh, well, why didn't you talk about this? Well, I only had 45 seconds to tell you the entire healthcare plan that I have. Like, you need to give me more than that, you know?
Yeah, I think the whole debate, the whole debate thing should be reconsidered in a different way. Yeah. I feel like the questions should be asked, but they shouldn't have a time limit. You know what I mean? So they can get their message out. I know it would take a long time to answer those questions, but...
And I get like everyone wants like a fair, you know, everyone needs to have their policies out there. But if you're going to ask one of the candidates and go against one of the candidates and ask him 5 different questions in one question and expect him to answer in 45 seconds, like that doesn't make any sense.
Exactly.
Like give everyone a fair chance to talk, but... if you're going to ask this candidate 5 questions, then you need to give them the proper time, the appropriate time to answer them.
Definitely. Another candidate, let's see, Yang.
Oh God, his opening.
It's all propaganda.
His opening statement, and that's all I have. Like we can say propaganda, and the only example I have is his opening statement.
Exactly.
Like his opening statement was all just like him like donate to our stuff and we'll give you $1,000. Like you could have used that opening statement for so many different things.
I think that's his main policy that he's fighting for. What is it? The freedom dividend.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a cool idea, but I feel like it's not a good policy at the moment.
Most definitely.
I mean, who doesn't want free money? I want free money.
I would love
Everybody
to have
wants free money.
I wouldn't be in college if I had free
money.
You know?
Exactly. I wouldn't have to work.
I know exactly.
But,
and so I feel like it's a good thing, but just not for now.
Exactly.
It's not now.
Definitely. But yeah, Yang, I don't know.
I don't really like him that much. And then
I haven't been persuaded enough.
Yeah, exactly. I'd have to.
I'm a diehard Bernie.
Right, I know. I feel like I couldn't be persuaded. There are candidates like Elizabeth Warren and Bernie.
See, that's the thing with Elizabeth Warren. I feel like, I mean, if she did get the nomination, I mean, I'd still be upset because it wasn't Bernie, of course.
Yeah.
But
it's like the second best thing in like a non-disrespectful way.
Exactly.
Like it's like the second best thing.
She's definitely one of the candidates I agree with more after Bernie. There's a few slight differences. Like she said, she was going to take corporate money during the general election if she won the primary.
Yeah.
But Bernie wouldn't do that, so that's why I stand with Bernie. But yeah, I mean, she's literally the best one after Bernie.
Yeah.
But everybody else, I don't. They're too.
Yeah.
Too moderate.
Most definitely. For Biden, because I feel like we haven't talked really about Biden. I feel like we've talked about Biden in other candidates.
Worst one.
The worst one. The one that we hate the most. Sorry
to all you Biden supporters.
I know, I'm sorry. AKA George. I'm sorry. So, Biden, the few things that we wrote down was that he's like for the Iraq War, for the Bankruptcy Reform Act, mass incarceration. He's against school desegregation and against marriage equality. Keep in mind, we've already
flip-flopped, yes.
Yeah, exactly. We've already legalized LGBT marriage and all that stuff, and he's against for school desegregation. Like, I don't like. We've come so far now. Like, why are you still? So I feel like that's like a big thing. And then his whole argument with Castro.
Yeah, but these were his old views. He's changed now, but you can't. I mean, like if you compare him to Bernie, It's literally like night and day. Like you can't.
Exactly. And if he believed this stuff once, I'm sure he could come back to.
Exactly.
He could be president and then be like, oh, okay, well, I believe this again, so this is what's gonna happen. And because he's president, it'll happen. You know, and we don't need that. You know, we've come so far, and we don't need schools to be segregated again, and make LGBT marriage illegal, which personally I don't know why it was illegal in the first place.
Exactly, same here.
But I don't know why it was illegal in the first place, because we're not doing anything. We're in love and we're getting married. It doesn't make any sense. And then his argument with Castro about healthcare and how Biden was like, oh, they have to opt in, and then Castro called him out on it and was like, well, why do they need to buy in, opt in? And then Biden was like, I never said that, and then continued to say it for another 2 hours of the damn debate.
Exactly.
And then
the thing with Biden too, he doesn't answer the questions.
He doesn't. Yeah.